Hey guys, right now I'm in a really huge Opinel phase. I've been carrying these little knives a lot lately. And in fact, I've bought a couple more. I just haven't reviewed them because, the difference between, a lot of these, the number 12 and the number 10 is just size. They're pretty much all the same when you buy the carbon steel ones. So do I really need to review an 8 and a 9? But I bought a couple new ones recently because these things are so inexpensive and cheap. And I want to do a video talking real quick about why these things are so damn awesome. And the more I've carried these, I've actually kind of grown a really good respect for them as far as how good of a tool they are and how effective they are as an EDC pocket knife. Now, what we have here is a 12 and an 8 on the table. The 12 I've had for quite a while, and the 8 is actually relatively brand new. So we're going to open these guys up, and you can see we have a very nice patina on this, and nothing yet on the 8. So this is how they're going to come. Nice shiny metal. This is a combination of real and forced patina here. And we'll get into exactly how I did that in a second. But you can see it's a very interesting design on there. So these are carbon steel knives. There are literally no carbon steel knives on the market. There's essentially, if you look at under $50, there's maybe 3 or 4 on the market. There are a bunch of Case. I think Utica makes some. I think that GST knives make some that make the traditional kind of gentleman's folders. Some of them are still made in carbon steel, but you're going to be paying way above $50. But there's very few knives that are carbon steel out there, which is an absolute shame because carbon steel is such a good performer when you compare it even to high-end stainless steels. And that's the big shame. And companies have gotten away from that just because of the fact that carbon steel rusts, and they know that nobody gives a damn anymore and takes care of their stuff, which is the biggest shame on earth, that we lose out on such good steel because people are lazy. Now, so you can see the differences between the two of these here, the new versus the patinaed, and you can see how much character that patina adds to it, how much nicer it makes it look. Now, what's going to happen with these knives, because they are carbon steel, they are going to rust. And you can get two kinds of rust on your carbon steel blade. The first being red rust, which is bad. That's the rust you're going to get when you get this thing wet, put it away, don't clean it. That's bad. That can lead to pitting and all kinds of problems. Now, your black rust, like what you're seeing here, is actually good for the knife. It protects it, doesn't cause pitting, and it can actually will keep your knife from developing red rust. So over time, the best way to get a good patina is to use your knife. Use it for food, use it for everything. Just wipe it off on your shirt when you're done, throw it back in your pocket. It will develop a nice dark patina over time. And as long as you keep it dry, it won't develop that red rust. I very rarely oil these guys. I really just, when I'm done using them, I literally wipe them on my shirt, wipe them on a hanky, put them back in my pocket. And this one here is a couple weeks old, and it still really hasn't started to develop that dark patina yet. It does take quite a bit of time. Now this one here was getting a lot of red rust spots because I tended to use it, because it is such a big knife. It ended up going in places where it shouldn't have went. Got damp, got wet. It got red, a few spots of red rust. So what I did was I sanded this thing down and gave it a forced patina using sriracha sauce, hot sauce, vinegar. The vinegar basically does that. So I put it in the sriracha sauce, gave it like an hour or two, cleaned it off, and it created this really interesting patina on the knife. You can see it's a very interesting design. Makes it look very interesting, and it protects the knife from red rust. Because oftentimes what you'll see with these is as you open the knife and close the knife, you'll find that there'll often be patches of red rust on the back of the nail nick. So you'll notice that, and this patina will help you. So let's talk about performance. Why is carbon steel so great? Now, the carbon is what makes this knife have such great edge retention. Now, your carbon steel versus your stainless steel. Carbon steel uses pretty much just carbon and steel and maybe some other trace elements, and it creates a knife that is it has a very good edge retention, very tough, very durable, not likely to chip or break. You know, they're very tough, but their downfall is that they rust very easily. Stainless steel is, you know, your steel, but they add chromium, and the chromium is what prevents that from rusting. But however, chromium does not keep a good edge. Chromium is terrible for edge keeping. So the more chromium you add, the more stainless you are, but the worse of an edge. Now there's a lot that gets into this because chromium is very hard, so that makes stainless steel knives more difficult to sharpen because that chromium is very hard and it doesn't take that sharp, fine edge. So it's a very fine balance with stainless steel between coming up with the amount of chromium and carbon and other elements to create a good performer. Now I've taken these Opinels for quite a bit of a test drive over the past year or so. And not only are these things just amazing when it comes to slicing cardboard, cutting paper, and things like that, they really do perform. Now these knives are $10 to $15. Now when you cut cardboard, one of my benchmarks for testing knives nowadays is to see how many linear feet of cardboard a knife can cut before it loses its ability to shave hair. So what I do every recycling week is I sharpen the knife up to razor sharp so that it can cut newspaper, it can shave hair, see how many linear feet of cardboard I can cut, and compare that with other knives. Now these Opinels, if you get them razor sharp, can cut in the neighborhood of 80 linear feet of cardboard before they lose that ability to shave hair. Now they will still cut paper well beyond 80 linear feet. They will cut into the hundreds, they'll still cut paper, and they still have a good sharp edge well beyond that. Let's look at stainless steel. Your low-end 8CR 13 MLV, you're only going to get about 30 to 40 linear feet. Bump it up a notch. Let's take a look at something like S30, S35 VN. You're going to get 60, 70, 80 linear feet. Even my D2 steel knives only get 80 feet before they lose that ability to shave hair. And a D2, you know, you're talking a $50 knife in D2 versus a $10 knife in carbon, and you're getting that same exact performance. You know, you look at my zero tolerance in LMAX, only cuts 40 linear feet of cardboard before the thing lost the ability to shave hair. So for $10, you can get a knife that outperforms many of the high-end stainless steels when it comes to cutting cardboard. Now, I know what you're going to say is that these things are meant for that kind of work. These things pretty much have a full flat grind blade with a very slightly convex edge on it. So what you have is a very thin blade with no secondary bevel. These things are ground essentially flat and just a very light secondary bevel that's almost convex on there. And they're all different, guys. One of the things I found with these is that QC on these is all over the place. So your edge is going to vary from one to the next wildly. But for the most part, what they're meant to be is a full flat grind with a slightly convex secondary bevel on there. So small, in fact, that you can't even see it on most knives. If you look at this knife, you can really only barely see that slightest glint on the edge where that secondary bevel is. It makes these things very easy to sharpen. You can really just drop them, you know, and they will almost keep that edge forever as long as you have a decent strop, because you really don't have to set an apex because this thing is a full flat grind. And with cardboard, the best thing for cardboard is actually a thin blade. Cardboard loves a thin blade with this kind of edge. So these things are built for cardboard, but that stability of that edge, that is carbon steel. So when you look at this, guys, you know, at the $10 range, you're not going to find any better performance than this. I don't care what knife it is, if it's stainless steel, it's not going to outperform this. And in that $10 to $20 range, you know, it's mostly going to be 3CR13 steel, which is pretty much garbage. 440A, 440B, that 420J2, all those really super soft stainless steels, which when you sharpen them can barely take a shaving edge to them. Barely. You really got to work at it because they're such soft and difficult steels to work with. These things do. These things have the same edge retention as D2, as CTS XHP, S30 steel. These are going to have that same edge retention as those high-end stainless at that $10 price. Stability wise, you know what guys, I've used these things for a lot of stuff. I've cut a lot of cardboard, and you know what, my Spyderco Endura got a chip in the blade cutting cardboard. Believe it or not, it actually got a chip from cutting cardboard. Why? It's a stainless steel. Stainless steels can be a little brittle. I haven't had any issue with these with chipping, breaking. You know, these are very tough. And the handles on these things, I know a lot of people kind of feel, oh, well, these aren't for hard use. Well, guess what? Folding knives aren't for hard use, period. I know it's like, oh, buy a zero tolerance. They're really good for hard use. But it's like, what are you really going to be using hard use for your folding knife? You know, these things do really good in wood. I mean, if you're batoning with a folding knife, you're kind of, you know, shooting yourself in the foot anyway. The idea of these really big, gigantic, overbuilt, tough use folding knives just blows my mind. I've really just grown to like these small, lightweight, because the performance you get out of these are essentially 1090 steel. I know they do, you know, keep it a little softer than most people out there, but people pay good money. People pay, guys, you look at this, people pay $60, $70, $80 for a tops knife in 1090 steel. Yet Opinel is able to give you a folder, which this one here, what is that, a 5-inch blade? And they can do it for like 12 bucks. It kind of shows you on the market how badly we are manipulated into believing that some of these knives are actually worth what they sell them to us. You know, and granted the Opinels are softer than a tops. You know, a tops does harden these things to a harder level. But in the end, these things have really good performance and they're really good for the money. For that $10, $12, you're not going to go wrong. And I say, if you're saying, hey, I got 20 bucks to buy a pocket knife, well, you can go out and buy a $20 Kershaw and 8CR13 MLV, and it's going to be good for you. You know, they're decent knives for the money. They have pretty good performance. 8CR13 is a decent steel, but in the end, I think it's money better spent to get this. You're going to be much happier with the performance of a knife like this. It's easier to sharpen, easier to work with. You can get a really cool patina on it, give it a really good look, you know, and really be happy with the results and the feel. Have something your own. You can work on the handle. You can put designs in it, sand it down. There's so much you can do with these that you can't do with your average run-of-the-mill production knife. So I think, guys, if you're into knives, you need to have a couple of these in your collection.